It now gives me enormous pleasure to introduce the President of the Royal College of Surgeons in Ireland, Mr. Declan McGee.
No, it's not going to work. Chancellor of the National University of Ireland, Pro-President, Royal College of Physicians of Ireland, Registrars, Vice President of the Royal College of Surgeons in Ireland, past Presidents, Members of Council, Members of Medicine and Health Sciences Board, Deans and academic colleagues, honoured guests, ladies and gentlemen, and especially our new graduates. It is a great pleasure and a privilege for me to welcome you all here to the Convention Centre on this most important occasion for our college. We are particularly pleased that so many family members and friends are able to be with us to share in your joy, and we extend to them a very warm welcome. Dr. Verghese has already marked in a very special way your appreciation of the support and encouragement that has always been there for you as you've come through this course and reached this point today. And so, to our 249 new graduates and newest doctors from 5 continents and 27 countries. After almost 3 weeks on the loose in far-flung parts of the world, well, mainly Kusadasi, it is a relief to all of us that you managed to make it back safely to this week's events and in a fit condition and so presentable. Well done. We applaud all of you and celebrate your success, and may I also add additional congratulations to the prize winners amongst you. With his outstanding valedictory address just now, your classmate Owen Kelleher has done you proud, as indeed he has done in the past in winning the National InterVarsity Debating Competition. I was certainly put under pressure when he was quoted in our national press as planning to spend the week since the results in preparing his address. Meanwhile, I was only elected as president yesterday. But I must confess that I've known for some time that I would be president, as our vice president is de facto our president-elect. Today marks the end of a long pathway of demanding, exhausting, and challenging study and learning, and marks the beginning of a lifetime of practice and study and learning. A commitment to lifelong learning is truly the lot of a medical graduate. Speaking of the lot of medical graduates, I recently read an article on the outcomes and career progressions of medical graduates from St. Bartholomew's in London, in which the author followed the career of 1,000 sequential students for 10 to 30 years after graduation. Almost 10% were categorized as having attained distinguished or great success, 50% fair or moderate success, 5% failed entirely in their career, 10% left the profession, and almost 15% died within 12 years of starting practice. Somewhat sobering statistics. I said that I recently read the article, but you will be very relieved to know that the article was not recent, but rather was published in 1869 by Sir James Paget, who was born in 1814, exactly 200 years ago. However, it makes the point that medics require support at the outset of their careers to establish them on a secure professional pathway. We recognize the importance of this and have established a number of initiatives. Our new mentorship network begins during the senior medical school years in assisting students gain knowledge of potential career choices, helping with elective placements, and providing a resource and reference point for young doctors in the early days of their career. Today, you've become the newest constituents of what I call the RCSI World Wide Web. And wherever you end up in the world, you will not be far from a fellow Royal Collegian. We have a strong alumni association with an ever-expanding list of international chapters. At this point, I would like to acknowledge and welcome the President of the Graduates Association, Dr. Mary Davin-Parr, and also the President of the Students' Union, Mr. Vincent Healy. Here at base headquarters, we are committed to providing all necessary support to the Mentor Network and the Alumni Association. Of course, a prerequisite is that you, the new alumni, engage with us, and in particular, the Alumni Office. Earlier today, we had a small lunch, and at the lunch was Professor Michael Brennan, a graduate from 1968, a distinguished clinician in the Mayo Clinic, and a world authority on professionalism. We also had Dr. Al Muchnick, a Canadian, indeed the first Canadian to study at the Royal College of Surgeons in Ireland, enrolling in 1947 and graduating in 1953. Today, at the age of 90, he sailed into Dublin port on a cruise ship, brought the good weather with him, and came to have lunch with us. We've also, surely both of them, the epitome of an ideal alumni. Only today we are able to claim Professor Verghese, who was not an alumnus but is today. As they say, if Carlsberg did alumni. You have graduated today from a venerable institution whose history is entwined with the history of Dublin and Ireland, and an institution which often appears in Dublin literature. In rereading James Plunkett's epic novel about the 1913 Dublin lockout, I was amused to come across the following dialogue between Rashers, a central character in the story, and a casual acquaintance, as they watched a pigeon patiently work a hole in a bag of grain, at which the man opined, "A pigeon has more brains than many a man, like the rat." To which Rashers replied, "The rat is sagacious." The man said, "Highly sagacious. I believe the crowd in the Royal College of Surgeons would rather have a rat to experiment on than a guinea pig, more like the human." "I can believe that," said Rashers. "Some humans is remarkably like the rat." And James Joyce, in Dubliners, which was published exactly 100 years ago this month, makes mention of our front entrance. He went as far as the clock of the College of Surgeons. It was on the stroke of 10. Those of you who passed through the front door in the past few days will have seen that self-same blue-faced clock and may have noticed above it the keystone of the granite doorway carved as the head of Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine. It is always moving, especially for senior doctors, to see and hear a new graduating class earnestly and with conviction recite the modern version of the Hippocratic Oath, or Code of Ethics for medical practitioners. There are many important phrases contained therein, and they speak for themselves, but I will touch on one or two. I will respect the secrets that are confided in me even after the patient is dead. All of us in medicine are given the unique privilege of being intimates in otherwise strangers' lives at times of great personal distress and crisis for them. And with this privilege comes responsibility, and we know that that has been imbued in all of you. As an aside, while not a medical confidence, I am sure that all fair-minded people will celebrate that the intimate letters of Jacqueline Kennedy to an elderly Irish priest have been withdrawn from public sale. I will give to my teachers the respect and gratitude that is their due. Today we celebrate your own endeavour, application and ability, but I know that each of you appreciate the expertise, wisdom, dedication and commitment of your teachers here in RCSI and in all our clinical sites. If you are like other generations of medical students, you will carry strong memories of them into your future lives and will quote the more scholarly and wise, or indeed the more outlandish of their utterances for many years. A strength of your education here in RCSI, and indeed a renowned attribute of Irish medical education generally, is the emphasis on bedside teaching, clinical medicine and clinical skills. In recent times, the need for doctors to possess such skills has been questioned and devalued, particularly with the advent and availability of ever more sophisticated diagnostic tools. An evangelist and champion for bedside medicine and clinical skills is today's recipient of our honorary doctorate, Dr. Abraham Verghese, and all of us are privileged to have him with us today and to have heard his inspirational address. Born of Indian parents in Ethiopia, his medical education there was cut short by political and civil unrest and subsequently completed in Madras, India, by which time his family were living in the United States. He is best known to many of you, as we've heard, as the author of the wonderful novel Cutting for Stone. In his role as professor in the theory and practice of medicine at Stanford University, he has decried the demise of clinical ability and has written, "The question is not whether physical examination alone is better than the chest film in diagnosing pneumonia, but whether physicians who combine both approaches deliver better outcomes to their patients than had they used one approach alone." Another quote, facetious this time, I think, which I really like, "The real patient is now in the computer, what I call the eye patient, while the patient in the bed has become an icon and simply exists to indicate that there's a file in the computer." And again he has written, "Technology drives diagnosis, but it often merely substitutes our fear of uncertainty with delusions of certainty." This latter quote reminds me of a surgical colleague speaking in our college at a combined surgery radiology session. He described how, when confronted with a difficult clinical case, he would go down to his radiology colleague and be bamboozled by an array of complex and impressive images describing and explaining all the nuances of his case. As he exited the radiologist's office, his newfound confidence that he now fully understood the problem and what needed to be done was shattered when his radiology colleague would invariably call after him, "Be sure to let me know what it actually turns out to be." So be confident that you are now armed with the knowledge, clinical skills, and attitudes to properly, in the words of your oath, consecrate your lives to the service of humanity. Go forward with enthusiasm to share our vision that you will be the healthcare leaders of tomorrow who will make a difference worldwide. A particular hero of mine is Dennis Burkett, an Irish surgeon from Fermanagh, my own home place, who toiled in Africa 50 years ago with minimal resources, but managed to discover the cause and treatment of a common fatal childhood cancer, now called Burkitt's lymphoma. I will leave you with his favorite admonition. Attitudes are more important than ability. Motives are more important than methods. Character is more important than cleverness. And the heart takes precedence over the head. Thank you. Congratulations.